Alright, it's time for a late night impromptu, poorly produced video on executive orders and why I think that the category is pretty much legally meaningless. So, we'll start with a basic proposition that can be found in countless Supreme Court cases. The president only has authority that the president gets either from Article 2 of the Constitution or by an act of Congress. Article 2 has basically two categories of powers. There are individual, narrow powers, for example, in things like foreign affairs. I'll give you an example. Zivotofsky versus Kerry, the Supreme Court said that the president has the power to decide whether and how to recognize foreign governments. Okay, small power, basically, only has a few applications. It's in Article 2. If you believe how the Supreme Court read Article 2, that's fine. Broader category of Article 2 powers is a kind of general supervisory authority over the executive branch. And there are lots of fights over what that means. I'm not going to get into them in this video. There are debates about a theory called the unitary executive that, trust me, you really don't want me to delve into. But suffice it to say that at a minimum, the president has sort of basic managerial authority over the executive branch. Donald Trump can say, for example, that executive branch officials don't get to work from home, they have to come into the office. Or he can say that, they can't use, Android phones for their work phones, they have to use iPhones, whatever. And at least to some degree, and this is where the unitary executive fights happen, the president can order around the executive branch and how they exercise the responsibilities given to them by Congress. And again, lots of debates on the margins here, but just take that as a category of power. Finally, sometimes Congress has just out and out said by statute the president can do something. So I assume, I haven't actually read the statute, but judging by how presidents have exercised this, I assume that the many statutes that authorize tariffs directly delegate that power to the president, or, I guess maybe to the Secretary of Commerce or somebody acting under the president's direct orders. And so they give the power to directly say, the tariff rate for this product is that, under certain conditions. And again, these are by acts of Congress, and so Congress can repeal them. Ultimately, Congress made the law, and the president is deciding how to implement them. A special category of these congressional delegations are delegations to administrative agencies that are governed by the notice and comment rulemaking procedures of the Administrative Procedure Act, where the president can't just say, okay, here's a regulation. Rather, the president has to direct the agency to engage in a process called notice and comment rulemaking that ultimately generates a regulation. So, how do executive orders play into this? Well, a president can put the label executive order on whatever he wants. So, sometimes a president will publish an executive order saying, by order I set the tariffs to this. So that the president in that case is actually exercising a legal authority to set the rules for other people. That kind of an executive order has the force of law, but not because it's an executive order, right? That has the force of law because Congress gave a legal authority to the president. The president could, in principle, exercise that legal authority through a wide variety of means. Calling something an executive order could want, calling it a proclamation could work. In principle, doing it over tweet could work. Actually, doing it over tweet probably wouldn't work, because by statute, Congress provided in 44 U.S. Code, Section 1505, that documents that the president actually intends to have legal effect, including things called executive orders and things called proclamations that are intended to have that effect, have to be published in the Federal Register. But I'd say I don't even have to guess. Subsection A2 of that statute says other documents that the president wants to give legal effect to also have to be published in the Federal Register. So I guess, in principle, if Donald Trump wanted to impose a tariff by tweet, Donald Trump could say, by this tweet, I impose a tariff on Canada of X amount on X goods, and then take that tweet and, print it out and publish it in the Federal Register. And that would work exactly the same as a so-called executive order. On the other side, if the president does not have the legal authority to do a thing, calling that thing an executive order can't change that. So take the recent executive order about making English the official language of the United States. I am aware of no statute that gives the president the authority to declare an official language of the United States. Certainly the executive order does not cite any such statute. And there is no plausible interpretation of Article 2, according to which the president has such an authority. Therefore, an executive order purporting to change the official language of the United States is not in any way, shape, or form a law. It does not have legal effect. It does not have legal meaning. It's just empty talk. Of course, that order can also give instructions to the employees of the executive branch. But the ability to give instructions to employees whom you supervise does not make something a law. Every manager can give instructions to the employees they supervise. Mark Zuckerberg can give instructions to the employees of Facebook. If Mark Zuckerberg sends a memo to Facebook declaring that English is the official language of Facebook and employees should act accordingly, that has exactly the same effect on the employees of Facebook as Donald Trump's order telling employees in the executive branch to start acting like English is the official language has on employees of the executive branch. In neither case does it make any sense to say that something's a law. It's not. It's just a memo to one's subordinates telling them how to do their job. And so this is why I will say to you that executive orders are not laws. Sometimes executive orders can have legal effect if there's a specific delegated authority for the president to act in a specific domain. But the delegated authority is the source of the law, and the president's implementation of that law can come in a wide variety of forms. There's nothing special about the form executive order. And in many cases, executive orders are legally meaningless because they purport to do things that the president has no authority to do, or they're meaningful in a supervisory sense, but not for people outside of the executive branch, like when the president's just telling executive branch employees what to do. So I don't think that we should talk as if executive orders or any other unilateral president action counts as a kind of lawmaking. At least not unless we can point to a specific authority delegating to the president the power to make legal effect or give legal effect to an order in the specific domain that the purported order is being issued in.